Okay, if you just have a lot of recruiting, remember the old movie from years ago, The Blob? Blob? That's like somebody that's got a lot of recruiting but no relationships. And then you've all seen a deal where somebody opens a closet and there's a skeleton and they get all scared. That's a bunch of relationships but no recruiting. You got to get the skeleton. The blob's a warm pulsating mass, but it's not going anywhere. The other one is a rigid structure, but it has no life to it. So you got lifeblood of the movement, relationships are the backbone. I remember I had Tony Stevens. Dan, you know Tony Stevens out in the Dallas area?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, what a guy. I brought him out to the ranch one day, and he's riding a horse, and I'm looking back there, he's on his cell phone, because there's a big cell tower, and he's on his cell phone. I'm like, I got a picture of him riding a horse using his cell phone. But what he's doing, he's calling back to his team, and he said, I'm going to build a ranch. He said, I'm riding horses. Am I riding horses or am I building a business? You decide. See, he was building a business because he was growing, which helped him make more. And like if you're going bowling, am I bowling or am I building a business? You decide. I know what I'm doing. It may look like I'm bowling, but I'm building a business. Always working towards the accomplishment of your objective. I've always been a person that's been very motivated to help people. I'll share that. I don't know why, but something just told me to share this. I grew up in the deep South. Deep South. In the 60s. In the 60s. They still had white-only drinking fountains, colored drinking fountains, backdoor entrances for... in 1964, our school integrated. They shut down the black school across the community and they brought the students in. And it was a tense situation. It's a cultural deal. I mean, that's the way things work. And I can remember, I was not a believer, but I read a book. Some of you may have. I read a book written by a South Texas newspaper editor called Black Like Me. And this white newspaper editor had taken some chemicals that darkened his skin, and he traveled through the deep South and reported how he was treated for nothing more than the color of his skin. As a 16-year-old kid, man, it just they're like, whoa, what is this all about, you know? So when we did that, we inherited a 6'2" basketball player named Odell Fraley. Now, you'd think every school would love to have a 6'2" African-American basketball player, but that wasn't the attitude. And so the guys on the team, they kind of said, we're not going to play with him. We're not going to play with him. We're never going to pass him the ball. What they forgot was that Bill Stewart was a point guard. Guess he got to bring the ball down. So I decided I'm not going to pass the ball to anybody but Odell. You got to play that game. I'm not going to pass. So I'm out there. I'm dribbling the ball, and the crowd, pass the ball. I'm dribbling the ball. When Odell gets open, I pass him the ball. Next time down the court, and I'm dribbling. Odell gets open. The first quarter, almost the first half, was a ball game between me and Odell Fraley. So the rest of the guys on that team realized if we're going to get in the game, we're going to have to play with him. Okay? And that's I mean, even though I was not raised in a Christian home, God just gave me some insight. You know, there's things that are right and there's things that are wrong. And I remember one time I loved to bowl. I liked bowling. We had a little bowling alley in town, and it was totally whites only. And I was in there bowling one night, and there was a young African-American guy there, and I saw him up there, and he would go up to the counter and say something. The guy would shake his head, and he'd go sit back down. There was a college student. He'd go back up there in a minute, and so I walked up there, and I just told the guy, I said, I think this young man wants to bowl. And the guy said, well, the lanes are all reserved. About half the lanes were open. He said, the lanes are all reserved. And I said, that's okay. I've already got a lane. I'm on 18. He's going to bowl with me. Whoa. This dude reached behind the counter. He got those shoes and he slammed them down on the counter and took the money, and the young man went down. And this is sad, but I'm just saying, folks, that's the way it was. That was the culture at the time. About 80% of the people that were in there bowling, those other lanes left. And we bowled. I will tell you this. I was looking over my shoulder, walking across that parking lot to my pickup truck. I guarantee you I was. But I'm saying this to you. See, my mom was an alcoholic, but she taught me some values. She wasn't drunk all the time. When she was drunk, she was drunk most of the time. But she still had good qualities, and she taught me to respect people for who they were. not for the color of their skin, not for what they had materially or didn't have. I was born in Cuba. A lot of people don't know that. I was born in Cuba. Actually, shoot, I messed up my story. I was going to tell you. This would have been better. I was going to tell you, I spent time in Guantanamo Bay, y'all. And I did. I'll tell you, I was transported there in a container with no window. And I was nourished through a tube. And they got me to Guantanamo. And for a few months, I never even got to get out of the container. And then I came out, and I was pretty much wasn't allowed to do anything but just lay in a bed. I couldn't talk to anybody. I was going to paint that whole picture because everybody knows about Guantanamo. It's where we take the terrorist people. But actually, my mom was pregnant when she moved to Guantanamo, so I was in a container and I was being fed through a tube. And then I was let out on January 27, 1948, but I couldn't talk to anybody. I just was a baby. I mean, I'm going to paint that. I got to do that. I'll do that. We'll see what kind of rumors get started about Bill being a terrorist guy, but in fact, I went back to Cuba 4 years ago. I never thought I'd ever go back. I was 6 months old when we left, and of course the revolution happened. I went back. A guy asked me to go into Cuba and help him train some young men and women in ministry. I said, I got one question. My passport says birthplace Cuba. It doesn't say U.S. Naval Base, it just says Cuba. I said, when I walk into Cuba and hand them my passport, are they going to say, welcome home, son? Grab my passport, hand me a machete and say, there's the sugar tank. I said, what's going to happen? What I found out was, if you were born after 1960, I was born in 1940, if you're born after 1960 when the revolution happened and that happened, yes, you got some problems. You were born in Cuba in 1961, and who let you out? Who said you could leave? You sit down over there. Give us your passport. But because I was born in 1948, it was no deal. The only problem was when I would be speaking to a translator, and I would look out to these young people and I'd say, now I was here before any of y'all. They would look like, what did they say? You know, like, they would look at each other and you could tell them they think it must have been translated because it sounded like the guy said he was here before we were. Then I would tell them I was born there. I don't know why I went there. I don't know. Maybe that will encourage you in some ways. Somebody let the rabbits out of my bag. Shut up in my bag there, okay?
Be real.
Okay. Motivation. People like to be around others who think their lives have significance. Page 116. People, some of you have people in your family. You go to a family reunion, there's somebody in your family who says a unique ability to make you feel like stink. So you try to avoid them, right? But if there's somebody that just makes you feel really good, you like to be around them. Make people, Art used to say, look at everybody like they have a flashing sign on their chest that says, make me feel special. Try that. Make people feel special in little ways. Just when people are serving you different places, just get in the habit of saying things and make people feel special. You're really good at what you do. Man, you really did a great job for me this morning. They don't get that much. But in this business, always, okay, strengths. Focus on people's strengths and let people contribute. I use an example of this. I mean, people feel good when they think that they've contributed. I remember I had a young man in one of our Bible studies. He had not been raised in a Christian family or anything. And he said, Mr. Bill, I've got to show you something. I was reading my Bible last night and I found this verse. You won't believe this verse, Mr. Bill. Everything you've been telling us is right there in that one verse. And he says it's in here it is. It's in John. It's in John. There it is, John 3:16. Look at this verse, Mr. Bill. For God so loved the world, He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in Him shall not perish but have eternal. He said that's everything. And I said, you found that? Wow, let me get a pen. Let me write that down. Now that is John what? John 3. Now is John in the New Testament or the Old Testament? I mean, I didn't say to this kid, you're 16, you're now finding... You know, I was raised in an alcoholic family. I went to vacation Bible school when I was 4 and they taught me John 3:16. I mean, he would have felt like a dumb idiot. Instead, I made him feel like he had discovered... Now, you know what he wanted to go home and do that night? Read his Bible more to see what other things he could find, right? That's like you. You know, somebody comes and says, you wouldn't believe what I found out here about term insurance, you know. You something, I mean, I've been on POL for, you know, get excited about them getting excited about something. It's a little, just make people feel good and let them contribute. and let them feel like they are contributing. Even if they're not contributing something, they're contributing to your joy to know that they found it. So get excited about it, okay? I probably overdid that one. Employ the positive perspective and motivation, which is developing a person's strength. If a person's got, I remember Doug Hartman taught me this. Okay, I am not well organized. Some people have even accused me of not keeping a calendar. I just put that to rest. That is not true. I started keeping a calendar in 1991, and I've kept it faithfully. It's in my bottom right-hand desk. It is in pristine condition. 1991 calendar. If that year ever rolls around again, I'm ready to go. But Doug told me one time, he said, Bill, you're going to tell people that you're going to hear people say, you need to get strong in the areas you're weak in. He said, I don't buy that. He said, you get stronger in the areas you're strong in, and you bring people around your team to help you in the areas you're weak in. Okay, that made a big impact on me. Danny, I hired my first secretary when I was a district leader on a 50% contract. By the way, back then, that's when you went full-time. You didn't go full-time as an RVP. The full-time position in primary, to become a district leader in A.L. Williams on a 50% contract, you went full-time. Full-time. That's how you got to be a district. Meet the qualifications, go full-time. I hired my first secretary because I knew I couldn't keep up with the paperwork. Now, she was part-time. She came in, she worked Monday afternoon, and she did everything, processed everything we did on the weekends. She worked Wednesday afternoon and processed everything we did Monday through Wednesday noon. She came in on Friday, so she worked 3 afternoons a week. I didn't pay her a whole lot, but I knew this. It would take 85% of my emotional energy to do 15% of that paperwork. My emotional energy is better used being in front of somebody, selling the dream, encouraging them, recruiting them. And yet I've got RVPs that to this day won't hire a secretary. They're doing $6, $10 an hour work when they could be doing $500 an hour work. But I love them. Give me 100 RVPs with no secretaries that are doing $10,000. Okay. Now this is the second greatest principle. Boy, this works in Primerica. It's called co-learnership. Leaders don't have to know everything. A lot of people feel like a leader's got to know everything if they're going to lead other people. Not if you understand co-learnership. We would introduce a young person to Christ. I'd get them in my little Bible study, and 2 weeks later they'd be leading their own Bible study. Never even owned the Bible before. How could they do that? Because it was a co-learner. We had these little things called cassette players. You put a cassette tape in there. And we had little Bible studies on them. And so I would challenge those guys in my circle, hey, go get some of your buddies that want to know more about the Bible, and y'all do a Bible study on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. What you do is, you get them around, give them the Bible, get the little workbook, and you put this cassette tape in, and Bill Bright, the founder of Campus Crusade, will teach you how to be filled with the Spirit, or teach you how to love by faith. And so all he was doing was facilitating. He was a co-learner. But there were now 4 or 5 new people in Bible studies that wouldn't be there. Same thing in Primerica. Being a co-learner eliminates the need for a team leader to know everything. One of the things we did in Lubbock, we had all these little offices. And on our training nights, we would have a little session. People would come in and take whatever course they wanted, and the leader of that session would plug in the DVD. Now, of course, it could be done on POL. Their job is to welcome everybody and push the button and learn with them. But they had a sense of responsibility. They had a class to lead. But they were learning. They didn't have to know the material. Does that make sense to y'all? But what it does, it expands business knowledge and exposure. It gives freedom for individual growth. They're learning leadership. They're learning responsibility. And you've got more people involved. Rapid reproductions allows for individual strengths. Newer associates can be involved. Because anybody can push a button. It's freedom with control. See, freedom. But and also we had a lot of people involved taking responsibility in the meetings. And so they were being involved and growing and learning. Whether with the co-learner concept, it's not necessary to wait years to begin developing leaders. And that's what a lot of other youth ministers were surprised with us. You got kids teaching leading Bible study. You got kids doing this. We had over 2,000 students involved in our ministry, many of them leading their own Bible studies. A lot of them, using the cassette, and then later on they could do their own. But all these things we learned using the principles in this book before I ever got in Primerica. Okay, servant leader. I already covered a lot of that. Let him be great and become servant of all, and that anyone can be great and anyone can be a servant. Servant leader. Speak in terms of other people's business. This ain't about my business, it's about your business. How can I help you build your business? Okay? Act as a resource, not a boss. I can tell you the answer like that, but if I tell you, you're going to need to come ask me the next time. See, a person asks me a question, I say, that's on POL. If you go to POL, check products, look at the right-hand menu, you can find that. Left-hand menu, you can find it. Yes, it takes them longer, but now they know where it's at. And then when one of their people asks, they know where to tell them. So act as a resource, not a boss. I'm here to help you. I'm working for you. I'm your consultant. You started your own business. I'm your business consultant. I'm not going to build your business for you, but I'm going to be your personal consultant to help you build your business. You're not working for me. You're bringing your kid, but hey, you're not working for me. I'm working for you. Get excited about the right things. Get excited about the right things. When they get a recruit, get excited about bringing somebody to a meeting. Get excited about the things that help you grow. Yes, get excited about a sale. But get more excited about a recruit. Because the things you get more excited about, they will want to get the recognition, the reward, and the positive reinforcement. And Art used to say, recognize what you want done. If you want recruiting, you recognize recruiting. If recruiting's up and production's down, you do a little time of recognizing some production. So get people moving those recruits into the field. Encourage people to make their own decisions. People ask me a question, even my kids or anybody, ask me a question and I say, well, what do you think you should do? Bill, what do you think I should do in this situation? What do you think you should do? Because it gets them thinking. I give them some direction, especially if it's one of my kids or grandkids, and then what they think they should do I think is way off course. I'll say, well, now, why would you think that? What good? How do you think that would help you become a better person? How do you think that would help this other person? So I will direct them to the thinking by asking questions. Yes, it'd be easy. I've been in the business 35 years. I've been in started in full-time ministry when I was 18, 19 years old. I got a lot of years behind me. But it's a lot easier. It takes a little more time for me to talk to you and ask you, because I want you to learn to think. Okay? The servant leader. Okay? And again, I hope you can understand now why this is a book you got to keep going back to. Because you're going to grow in this stuff, and you're going to learn, and you're going to go back, and you're going to say, oh man, I'm doing that. Oh man, I missed that right there. I could have done this there. So next time I'm going to do that. Okay. Now, how does it all fit together? This pulls it all together. By the way, now I forgot to turn my notes when I was going through this. Finding a recruit is terminal. Terminal thinking versus relational thinking. Building a world training matrix is relational. Can you see the difference there? Yes. You just get a recruit that got an FNA, big deal. But I got an FNA who's going to be going into my environment, is going to be learning to be a leader, and will one day be on my movement matrix and developing one of their own. Okay. I'm going to assign somebody to remind me to turn pages. Next time you're sitting there, Bill, turn the page. You're on a different slide now. Okay. I think I've done this enough. I got pretty much okay. Here's where they fit together. Here's your world training segment. That's your leadership. Now again, you might have 3 or 4 recruiting segments that you're doing, but you probably will be a while before you have multiple movement matrices. But you might have 2 or 3 recruiting deals going on. So you got your leaders, and as more people, they're adding more people to the 4-stage following, challenging to develop as multiplying leaders, and they go into your movement, and then you can kind of see this is where we get back to where we ended the book. You can see now it's large, but it's small, but it's large. It's free, but it's controlled. It's individual growth, but business growth as well. So here you are. You got your pool of humanity. You're developing leaders. As you develop more leaders, you reach more people. Your pool of humanity gets bigger. More people are joining. More people are training. More people are growing. Now, if you look at this the wrong way, if you've got more people joining, you've also got more people quitting. Because you just got more people. So then that's where you don't want to go get stuck at the exhaust pipe. You got more people training, more people growing. Out of that, you're developing more leaders. You're reaching more people. You're pulling, more people joining, more people training, more people growing, developing more leaders, and your movement begins to grow. And then you begin to reproduce that through regional vice president. Don't let this overwhelm you. You're going to clearly get more seed. You're going to plant the seed. You're going to nurture the seed that comes up. You're going to take care of the plants that are producing. You're not going to worry about the ones that don't, because if they don't have the life in them, you can't make them grow. Okay? And it's going to take some time. But once the thing gets going, it's going to start moving. Okay? I've seen it work in ministry. I've seen it work in business. There are a lot of people in the business. A lot of the stuff I've talked about today, the Alonzo team is already doing, but you maybe didn't understand where it fit in, or why it was important. Or it's like my airplane's flying, I don't really know why. Why, when I get it going so fast, does it just lift off the ground? You know, the reason it's good to understand that, because if you start having trouble, you can identify where the trouble is. I used to think that stalling an airplane meant the engine quit running. You can fly an airplane without the engine running for a while. But if you stall an airplane, it will fall out of the air like a rock. And what a stall is, I learned when I was flying, you're flying that airplane and you have the wing at an angle where the wind's coming across that wing and making that lift. If you get the wind, you get too steep an angle on that wing, the wind won't go across it. The lift stops, and guess what gravity does? It just pulls that plane right out of the air. So when you're going to climb, when you're going to increase your altitude in an airplane, it's not just a matter of pulling your nose up. Because if you pull the nose of the airplane up and you get off of that angle of wind, you stall. You have to add power and rise up. Actually, if you're going along and you just add power, the wind starts moving over more rapid. The vacuum is greater, and the plane, the air pressure lifts the plane up. You don't even have to point the nose up. If you are going to point the nose up, you don't want to point it up too fast. So it takes time. Okay. Okay, I want to do that last presentation I've got. This goes real quick, but I've been doing this, and I realized we stopped right there, and you had a lot of theory. And some of you are at different places. What I'm going to share with now, maybe it's just you. I've talked about how the movement begins with you. Maybe you're here today, but I don't even have a team. Maybe I got one or two people, and there's nothing going on my team. Let's go to that four more. Did I give you that one? Did I give you that one? Four more. One more for four. Maybe I didn't even give you that one. There it is. Okay, there it is. Very good. Okay. Now this is to say, no matter where you are today, you can start developing a movement. And if you have some people on your team and they're kind of dead in the water, maybe you can challenge them with this. I had lost this for a long time, and I came across it, and I thought, well, that's pretty powerful. I call it one more for four, then four much more. I just like to rhyme stuff. I'm from West Texas. If it don't rhyme, it ain't a poem. Now, my literature teacher wouldn't buy that, but it's like just me. I mean, it's something. It's a bunch of good words, but if it don't rhyme, it ain't a poem. All of my poems rhyme. Okay, a simple, workable game plan to change your life and business forever. Okay, let me ask you this. Is it reasonable? Is it achievable? Is it believable that in the remainder of this month or beginning next month you could find one recruit and one sale? Yes. Is that reasonable, believable, achievable? Okay. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. That's an ancient proverb. The journey of 1,000 reps begins with one step and one rep. That's a American proverb. So let's just say now, you can put multiplications to this if there's more people on your team. So let's say you've got, maybe you're here today and it's just you. Maybe you got somebody on your team that's just you. Okay, you can do that. Okay? Then, okay, 1 month, then you did one by one. Average sale, and I mean, I just use $800 in average sale. It's probably higher than that out here now, but you had $800 in premium and one recruit. Okay, one more for 4, right? That's the deal. So the next month, you're going to add one more. Is it reasonable, believable, and achievable that you could find one person from your team to begin one more for 4 your second month if you already had some people? Now, this would be assuming you already had some people on your team. But maybe you went out and did that, and then you challenged somebody. Okay. So month 2, you moved up to 2 by 2. You're doing one more for 4. So this month, you do 2 by 2. This person's in their first month. They do 1 by 1. So that's $2,400 in production and 3 recruits. You've started your move. Is this reasonable?
Yeah.
If you did 1 by 1 the month before, you do 2 by 2.
Yeah.
And you can get somebody else to do 1 by 1. That's your, so the end of your second month, there's where you're at. Is it reasonable, believable, and achievable that you can find one person from your team to begin one more for your third month? So now you're in your third month of your one more for 4. So you're now doing 3 by 3 that month. Your person that you started is in their second month, they're doing 2 by 2. This person's in their first month, they're doing 1 by 1, so that's 5,606 recruits in month 3. Have I said anything that wasn't reasonable, believable, and achievable? Just doing one more. Okay, now, could you find one more person your 4th month? So now you're in your 4th month, you're doing 4 by 4. Your first person's in their 3rd month, 3 by 3. Your 3rd person's in their 2nd month, 1 by 1. And your 4th person's in their 1st month. That's $8,000 and 10 recruits. 4 months. What if you can move from where you are today as an individual or your team in just 4 months and be doing 8,000, 10 recruits? And utilizing the principles that I've talked to you about today. Now, could you find one person in your 5th month? Okay. Now, I say one more for 4 and then 4 much more. So you maintain that. If you just maintain that level of 4 by 4, which wouldn't rise up to the Daniel Alonzo team levels anyway. But if that's all you did, 4 by 4, because you may be saying, I can't do those, Alonzo. Well, maybe you can do 4 by 4. Okay, everybody can't be a Kim Olajuwon. Maybe you can be a Craig Elo. Okay? You're 4 by 4 in your 5th month. Your first guy's now in his 4th month, so he's doing 4 by 4. Your 3rd guy's in their 3rd month. Your 2nd guy's in the 2nd month. Your 4th guy there, so that's in those 5 months, you're now at 11,214 recruits. You can see your environment growing. Mm-hmm. You got more people coming into your environment, but you're also making money. This isn't just a theory about people. It has dollar bills attached to it. So look here, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, you're at 11,000. You're well on your way to regional leader and RVP. Because at any time, if you raise that, I mean, you might say, hey, I was 4 by 4. But if you went full time here, you might be doing 8 by 8 now. But I'm just talking about these bare minimums. Just getting, see, buying something where a person believes, could I do that? Could I do 1 by 1? Yes. Yeah, you do 1 by 1. Well, if I did 1 by 1 last month, I've got some referrals. Not referrals. I don't get referrals, by the way. I never get referrals. Some of y'all may. You may think that's a good thing. I don't. Because I just don't call them referrals. I call them warm introductions. A lot of times people, you ask people for referrals. I just decided years ago never give my friends' names as referrals. So when I get to the end of a presentation, I don't ask for referrals. I say, did this help you? Will this help your family financially? Can you see where this will improve your life? Great. Who in your life do you care enough about? Who in your life do you care enough about you'd want them to have the same opportunity to be helped you've been given? I had a lady, actually, she was with my sister. She was working with us part-time. She brought in a sale, and one of the things we always ask, how many names did you get? Well, I'm sorry, I didn't get any. I asked them for referrals, and they just said, we decided a long time ago to never give our friends names to any salesman as a referral. I said, I understand that. They don't, they don't want their friends' feelings getting hurt. But I said, when you go back to deliver the policy, rephrase the question. When you go over the policy with them, showing what we did just happened, did this help your family? Is your family better off? And then phrase the question like this. Who in your life do you care enough about that you would want them to have the same opportunity to be helped that you've been given? She came back with 25 names, addresses, and telephone numbers. Wow. I mean, how can a person not answer that question? mean, I had a guy kind of say, well, I don't know. I just said to myself, if you don't have anybody you care that much about, I don't know if I want to insure you. You may be in bad risk. There may be people out just waiting for you to step off a curb to wipe you out. He kind of laughed, and I said, now, come on. I know you know having people in your life. You know, so anyway, that's just a little deal that we do there. But isn't that powerful? One more for four, and then four much more. So what I'm saying is, I don't care where you are today. I don't care where somebody on your team is. Maybe you've got a lot going on in your team, but you've got somebody on your team that's not doing anything. What if you sat down with them and challenged them? Now, if somebody's already doing 5 by 5, you don't want to challenge them to do 1 by 1. But you want to challenge them to go to the people on their team that aren't doing anything and challenge them. And the momentum on that is incredible. I mean, in 5 months to go from here, whoops, pushing the wrong button. To go from here to there in 5 months? Hey, if it took you 10 months to get there, would that be anything to cry about? No. But the thing is, it's achievable in 4 to 5 months. Now, I want you to do this. Who's my helper? We got some cards and some paper. And just, this will help me if you just give me a little feedback. You'll just take, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but I'm just going to hand out some little sheets of paper. Take one and pass it on down, and just, if you've got, I've already improved my. Believe it or not, you may not know that this is an improved version because some people have given me some suggestions. I will have to say, though, I had to scratch off part of Daniel Alonzo's deal that he gave me when he went to the one at Doug Hartman's, because Daniel said this is one of the best organized and most impactful events I've attended in my entire Primerica career. And I wrote Danny back and I said, Danny, that's a wonderful saying, but I said, you just destroyed all your credibility when you used best organized and Bill Stewart in the same sentence. So I said, I'm going to use your quote, but I'm going to leave off the best organized part. And it was funny because I had just done one a few weeks before, and it was just funny. I just, and a senior national sales director was attending that, said, maybe you get somebody to help you organize your material better. So I thought, well, okay, which one of those do I want to listen to? I'm going to listen to Danny's. It was well organized. It was well organized material. I appreciate that, Danny. But just any ideas, plus if it's something particularly touched your heart, something that just might be, you know, maybe a particular way you were helped by this, you can just make that comment. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. It just kind of helps me evaluate and get ideas on doing that. I appreciate so much the invitation to be here, Daniel. And I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. If you didn't get a book, and after going through it, you decided you wanted one, they're still out there. Still some out there, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, here's the other thing. Okay, if you're here and you seriously just don't have the $12, and because I don't, if you can't trust Primerica people, who can you trust? Maybe it's just a real tough time in your life. Just take one, okay? And if you do that under false motive, it will turn to ashes in your briefcase. Okay, but here's another thing. Do we have quite a few books out there, maybe still out there? If you have a friend who's a pastor, if you would like to get one of these books for a pastor friend or someone that's in the ministry, I will let you have that for $5. I will pick up the difference on it, because I believe these books can make a great impact in the lives of ministers or missionaries. I did that at a meeting somewhere, and a guy bought one for his pastor, and they ordered 2 cases. After the pastor read the book, they were going to the former Soviet Union to work with pastors in churches, and he was so impressed with the book, he ordered 2 cases of them to take into the former Soviet Union and give to Christian leaders in that area. Wow. A little old book sitting in a barn for years in West Texas now gets so I've just found that's a great thing to do, because these concepts changed my life and ministry before they ever impact. So if you've got a pastor friend, just be honest about that. Don't go get one. Now, if your pastor friend happens to be a Primerica rep, he's still a pastor. But don't go picking up $5 for your Primerica reps. They can get them. If you want some more, they can be ordered through my website, sharetruth.com, and we can get them out to you like that. So thank you so much. And if you do want one of the books and the outlines, like I say, you didn't get one beforehand, you can get one. Daniel, I'm through. I thank you so much.